All right, ready to dive deep. Ever feel like your day has chapters, kind of like, I don't know, a good book?
I like that.
Well, get this. Turns out our brains might actually work that way. There's this new study straight out of Columbia University, even got published in Current Biology. It's legit, and it's saying our brains are basically chapter-making machines.
Yeah, it's really something. And it's not just like, oh, I walked into a different room, new chapter. This research, it's suggesting something deeper is going on.
So it's more than just noticing the obvious changes around us.
Way more. Think about it. If it were that simple, we'd be constantly flipping to a new chapter, all right? Every little thing. This study, they wanted to figure out what's really triggering these mental breaks. Like, is it all about what's happening outside our heads, or is there something inside calling the shots?
Okay, now you've got me hooked. How'd they even study something like that? It's not like you can just peek inside someone's brain while they're going about their day.
Right. It's tricky. So they got clever. They used these super immersive audio stories, almost like imagine a podcast, but on another level.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
They'd set these incredibly detailed scenes, like 1 minute you're listening to a bustling restaurant, every clink and chatter, and the next you're transported to a tense meeting in a high-rise office. Total mood shift.
Sounds kind of cool, actually, like building little worlds inside your head. But how does that help them figure out the whole chapter thing?
By having such tight control over the storyline and the setting, they could isolate the exact moments our brains go, new chapter, please. But here's where it gets really wild. They didn't just want to watch this process happen. They wanted to see if they could actually mess with it.
Wait, what? Mess with how our brains make chapters? How's that even possible?
It all comes down to attention where we choose to focus. Let's go back to that restaurant scene, right? Big romantic proposal about to happen. Music swelling, glances are exchanged. And the drill. So they had one group of listeners really zeroed in on that proposal, like every detail. The lead up, the emotions, the big yes, the works.
Makes sense. Our brains are suckers for a good story, so their brains probably chunk the whole thing around that proposal, right?
Bingo. New chapter, engagement ring, all that jazz.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The other group, they were told to focus on something totally different.
Oh, okay, so same story, different instructions. What'd they hone in on?
They were told to tune everything out except the ambience of the restaurant. Like, really focus on the background noise, the clinking silverware, the quiet murmurs of other diners, even the smell of the food. Those are their cues.
Wow. Okay, so both groups, same story, but completely different focuses. What happened? Did their brains still create chapters around the proposal?
You bet they did. But, and this is the mind-blowing part, their chapters were totally different. Instead of the proposal being the big turning point, it was all about those little restaurant details.
No way. You're kidding?
Seriously. It's like their brains were saying, okay, new chapter, the waiter's taking their order, new chapter, the appetizers just arrived, all because their attention was somewhere else entirely.
And hold on. So even though the events were identical, just by changing what they paid attention to, they basically rewrote the story in their minds.
Exactly. It just shows how our brains aren't just passively taking it all in. They're filtering, prioritizing, deciding what matters to us in that moment. It's like we're not just watching the movie, we're helping direct it without even realizing it.
So maybe these chapters aren't really about neatly dividing our day, but more about how our brains try to make sense of the constant information overload.
Now you're getting it. And there's a ton of research showing that this whole chapter thing, this ability to pick and choose what we focus on, it's crucial for how we form memories.
Okay, now that you mention it, this explains why two people can be at the same event but walk away with totally different memories.
Right.
Like one person might remember every detail of a conversation, while the other one, maybe they were more tuned into the music or something and they hardly remember the words, but they have this strong feeling associated with the overall vibe.
Totally. It's like we each end up with our own personalized director's cut of the same event. And it makes sense, right? Think about how much information our brains process every single second. If we paid attention to everything, we'd short circuit.
Too true.
These chapters, it's like our brain's way of saying, okay, chill, let's just focus on this for now.
That actually makes me wonder about multitasking. Like, I'm a chronic multitasker, always got a million tabs open in my brain. But if that's like creating all these jumbled half-finished chapters, what's that doing to my ability to, really experience my life?
I was going to say, yeah, it's a big question, right?
Yeah.
And the research on that, well, it's still kind of unfolding. It's not like multitasking is this evil villain that instantly makes us miss everything. I mean, our brains, they're pretty amazing at adapting.
Right.
But I think the takeaway is we got to be smart about where we put our focus. Think of it like, imagine you're trying to really savor an amazing meal. you know. But at the same time, you're trying to read a work report, answer texts, A&D, have a conversation with a friend.
Yeah, I'd probably end up wearing most of that meal, knowing me.
Exactly. You might get a little taste of everything, but are you really enjoying any of it? That's
Yeah.
kind of what multitasking can be like for our brains, I think.
So it's about quality over quantity, even when it comes to our attention. That's pretty deep.
It is. This whole study, it's not about saying multitasking is bad. It's about realizing that our attention, it's precious. And how we choose to use it, it literally shapes our reality. Kind of makes you think, huh.
It totally does. So it's like we're not just stuck with however our brain decides to chapter our day. We can actually take control and kind of become the author of our own experience.
Now you're getting it. By being aware where our attention's going, we're not just choosing what we remember, we're shaping how we actually live each moment. That's a powerful stuff.
Mind officially blown. I feel like I need to go for a long walk and process all this.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's been awesome diving into this with you.
Same here. And for everyone listening, next time you feel that little mental shift, like a new chapter starting, just take a second, think about where your focus is. Because in that moment, you're not just living your life, you're actively creating it.